welcome back. Today we're gonna speak about the rental crisis in Europe and its impact, especially for young people. So let's discuss it. The rental crisis in Europe has escalated into a foundational problem for young people. Since probably 2006, EU house prices have surged by nearly 60%, while rents have climbed significantly, even 100% in regions like Estonia and Lithuania, far outstripping any wage growth. I found an interesting post on Facebook about the young people leaving the parental home their age. So this is getting um, raised year by year. So already you can see here in Spain and Portugal, it's over 30 years. That means young people need to stay at home with their parents until 30 or so. So is Italy and Bulgaria. Uh, it's a bit better in the western part of Europe, but still it's increasing here to almost 24, 25 years. And obviously worse as you go into Eastern Europe. Why is that? So first, the cost overburden crisis. As of 2024, approximately 9.7% of young people, and when I say young people, it's aged 15 to 29 in the EU, live in households where total housing costs represent more than 40% of their disposable income. This causes extreme burdens in countries like Bulgaria, Ireland, Poland, Portugal, and Spain, for example. A young worker on an average wage may need to spend over 80% of their salary just to rent a modest two-room apartment. So that's horrible. And it's no wonder if they are searching for a roommate. There are also regional peaks, so the highest housing cost overburden for youth is found, for example, in Greece, over 30%, followed by Denmark with over 28%, and Netherlands close by. So if we go on the European Eurostat, the EU Commission, website, it seems they recognize that living conditions in Europe are difficult in terms of housing and renting. So I found this article and statistics very interesting. So in 2023, about 4.9% of people aged 16 or older in the EU reporting experiences housing difficulties in their lifetime. In 2023, 8.5% of people at risk of poverty or social exclusion in the EU reporting experiencing housing difficulties. Men, 9% being more affected, slightly more affected than women. In 2023, 26.5% of people in the EU reporting that they have overcome housing difficulties by finding a job. So should be a good job, I would say. In our case, the minimum wage or maybe average wage, I don't think that helps too much. Household in the EU with dependent children, 18% were more likely to experience renting difficulties in the last 12 months than those without. And yeah, it makes sense because if you are just living alone, it's easier to find a room for yourself. If you have kids, then it gets complicated. You need an extra room for the kids. And of course, people at risk of poverty in the EU are more likely to experience renting difficulties in their lifetime, with rates decreasing from 22% for those aged 16 to 29 to close to 13% for people aged 65 or older. So if we take a look here, they also have a graph, people experiencing housing difficulties in their lifetime, 2023. And you have the countries here, and yeah, it's basically pretty bad with the trend being negative. So if we check another article, the locked out generation, Europe's housing market is falling, it's young. Written by Marie Hyland. Across the continent, soaring prices and stagnant supply have turned home ownership into a mirage for many young Europeans. Yeah, so for definitely when you hear the price for renting an apartment, because yeah, we speak about renting since purchasing an apartment or home, it's pretty much science fiction for young people nowadays. So this is an interesting article. I won't go through it all, just the key insights. She speaks about the broken social contract, which is very much so. So since 2010, new house prices have surged over 55%, while wages, of course, haven't kept pace. That is a hidden severity in the data because yeah, they are skewed depending on the region you look at. Of course, the main problem being the demand supply mismatch. By late 2025, new housing supply met only 50% of the EU demand. And then, of course, the quality and equity gaps with young people being disproportionately pushed into poor quality, overcrowded, or energy insufficient housing. And the idea here, the conclusion is that policy must pivot to supply, to building affordable houses. And people say that for a long time, but we see very few, if any, results and action taken into this area. So yeah, the living standards and independence. So the financial strain, you can say, has forced a shift in living arrangements and a reduced quality of life. For example, the delayed autonomy. About 30% of the 25 to 34-year-olds in the EU still live with their parents. And while some may like living with the parents, it certainly has its disadvantages. So, yeah, try to bring a girl home, for example. In countries like Spain, Portugal, and Poland, this figure reaches nearly 50%. That's huge. Then we have overcrowding and housing insecurity. So in 2024, it was reported that 27% of young people under 30 lived in overcrowded conditions. It makes sense, its rents are so high, they get one or more roommates. So obviously you will be overcrowded. And this rate jumped to 42% for those at risk of poverty. So it's even worse for people earning smaller wages. Then, if we speak about housing insecurity, it's nearly 46% of young private market tenants reported feeling at loss and at risk of losing their accommodation. So that's another risk when you are renting. You never know when the rent might go up, if you can afford it, if you need to move and find another accommodation. So definitely that adds stress and lowers the quality of life. We can also talk about the policy responses or what they are planning to do, but we don't see a lot of that. So even in the EU Commission site, if we scroll lower and lower, they have a lot of statistics here per different EU countries. But then when it's the time to maybe reach conclusions and say, okay, what is EU gonna do about it? It's lacking. They acknowledged the renting difficulties and mentioned these were higher among households with dependent children in most EU countries. You can see some statistics here with Greece, France, and Spain leading the way, while the lowest rates were observed in Romania, Slovakia, Belgium, Germany, and Hungary. And yeah, the former communist countries, it's a special case because up to 1990 or the fall of communism, they were given affordable housing by the state. while in Western Europe, the social housing program was nowhere near that efficient. So as I was saying, if we just look here, basically it's they present the challenges, but they offer no solutions. Just searching for some solutions, or governments, or most of them are bragging that they are implementing the European Affordable Housing Plan, which includes investment in social housing, SDR regulation, and rent support. They've also tried to cap rent, but it's difficult, and many renters then turn to other options like Airbnb or such. So yeah, the results are still to be found. Thank you for your time, guys, and see you next.